The biggest thing in the NBA today, the potential debut of Luka Doncic. The Lakers are hosting the Jazz tonight in crypto, and Doncic was acquired for Anthony Davis just over a week ago. That shocked the entire world.
Excited to be here. Getting to play for the Lakers. Not everybody can say that. And many legends passed here, many championships. So that's my goal.
Obviously, during this time last Saturday, I did not think I'd be making this video. But as a result of the craziest trade we've ever seen in NBA history and possibly sports history, Luka Doncic is now a member of the Los Angeles Lakers. But there's a huge question still at play. How well will he be integrated into the Lakers offense? Well, the NBA really wanted everyone to find that out, as they moved the Los Angeles Lakers game to national TV so we could all collectively find out the answer to this together. And we're going to break it down in this video. Before we get to the content, make sure you drop, like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to get the latest NBA news to your device. We've been going crazy over this past week for the trade deadline, and we're going to ramp it up for the final stretch of the NBA season leading into the NBA playoffs. And now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. Ever since I've gotten this sponsorship, I've been trying to figure out a way to game the system so I can earn my subscribers money, and I finally did it this past week. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to show you all the messages I've been receiving over the past few days as a result of all the people making money with my picks. I have a model that has exponentially increased our hit rate, and if you don't believe me, just look at my DMs. I mean, people have been blowing up my DMs with all the money they've been making. We made thousands of dollars on Prize Picks this past week, but use my promo code microphone when you sign up for Prize Picks to get $50 when you make a play of $5 or more. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Things moved really quickly following Luka Doncic getting traded to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis, a first-round pick, and Max Christie. Oh, and the Lakers also got Maxi Kleber. Sorry, Maxi. We would find out that the number one reason why Luka Doncic got traded to the Mavericks was because they were concerned about his conditioning. At this point, you guys are pretty well aware of that, which is absolutely insane when you consider how committed the Philadelphia 76ers were to Joel Embiid despite his injury issues. And obviously the Pelicans were extremely committed to Zion Williamson since drafting him #1 overall. This resulted in a lot of Luka Doncic's new teammates and one of his former teammates that is currently his teammate commenting on his conditioning. And Dorian Finney-Smith pretty much said what every member of the Los Angeles Lakers feels about Luka Doncic.
I know him, man. He wanted to play the whole game. I think he played like 40 minutes every game last playoff, so that's one thing about him. He want to play. So I don't really look at the noise. I look at his production. He produces. So if I'm putting up them type of numbers, maybe I need to be 270.
So on Thursday, we would see Luka Doncic practice with the Los Angeles Lakers for the first time. This is still something I'm getting used to personally as a Laker fan. He would immediately make his first half-court shot as a member of the Los Angeles Lakers. But one of the biggest questions I personally had as a Laker fan is, how is this going to work out with LeBron James? In my original trade video, I said that this is a trade that isn't going to help the Lakers immediately. As a matter of fact, you can make an argument that it might even hurt the Lakers immediately, but for some reason the Lakers championship odds were bumped up significantly to win the NBA Finals. And the reason why I'm so skeptical is because Luka Doncic and LeBron James are getting paid a significant sum of money to essentially do the exact same thing on the court. Throughout all of his career, LeBron James was a 6'9", physically imposing point forward that was able to get into the paint with ease and become the leading scorer in NBA history. But for the very first time in his career, he has someone on his team that could do what he does better than him and is significantly younger, but he's kind of the inverse as well, because Luka Doncic doesn't score with his athleticism. He scores primarily with his finesse and feel for the game, and probably the most unique and physically imposing point forward we've ever seen. So there is a huge question of how this is going to work out, and LeBron James kind of gave us a hint as to how this is going to work out when Luka Doncic was on the bench Tuesday night as the Los Angeles Lakers faced off against the Los Angeles Clippers.
Watch this play. He gets and goes. You know what he does here? He looks over at Luka and says, that's what we're going to do.
But there is a question about how these two are going to coexist. Now, it's important to note that LeBron James is still committed to the Lakers despite them pretty much bringing in a younger version of him.
I mean, listen, I'm here right now. I'm committed to the Lakers organization.
And he even went as far as to compliment Luka Doncic.
Luka's been my favorite player in the NBA for a while now. I think you guys know that.
But you have to admit, this is definitely a little bit of a concern. And the closest parallel I could ever draw to this working out is when the Houston Rockets traded for Chris Paul in the 2017 offseason. This was following James Harden's first season with Mike D'Antoni as his head coach. Mike D'Antoni was out of coaching since he was the coach of the New York Knicks and didn't really find a lot of success with the Knicks. But prior to that, he had significant success revolutionizing the game of basketball with the Phoenix Suns' 7 seconds or less offense. And pretty much what Mike D'Antoni would do was give the ball to Steve Nash, have him run pick and rolls with Amari Stoudemire, crank up the pace as much as possible, and shoot a decent amount of threes, while also making sure that his team didn't play any defense at all whatsoever. So yeah, you could kind of point the blame finger at Mike D'Antoni for ruining the NBA. So when D'Antoni came to the Houston Rockets in 2016, he pretty much crafted a similar offense around James Harden. But instead of having James Harden run a pick and roll, he crafted his offense based around James Harden's best play, which was the James Harden isolation. Once the Rockets traded for Chris Paul, Mike D'Antoni had a brand new dimension to his offense. He either was able to give the ball to Chris Paul to run pick and rolls, or give the ball to James Harden to run isolations. The result? Well, the Houston Rockets experienced a significant amount of success. In Chris Paul's first season with the team, the Houston Rockets were able to finish first in the Western Conference, breeze by the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Utah Jazz, and then meet with the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference Finals, in a series that they would go up 3-2 before Chris Paul would injure his ankle at the worst possible time. The rest was history. They would lose the final 2 games, and the Golden State Warriors would go on to win the NBA Finals. And they would experience a similar fate against the Golden State Warriors the very next year before they decided to trade Chris Paul to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, I'm expecting the Los Angeles Lakers to do something very similar with Luka Doncic and LeBron James to start out, before inevitably forcing LeBron James to play off of the ball significantly more. And honestly, if you're a fan of LeBron James, what else were you expecting at this point? Sure, LeBron James is having the greatest season we've ever seen from a 40-year-old in NBA history. Sure, this seems like a run that could keep going on forever, but if LeBron wants the opportunity to extend his career, which by the way, some people are saying he could very well extend his career, then he'd have to figure out a way to reduce his usage, considering the fact that he's 40 years old. Currently, LeBron James has a usage of 29.2, which puts him in the same category as Jason Tatum and above players like James Harden, Jalen Brunson, Devin Booker, and Nikola Jokic. And LeBron James just can't sustain this level of production, even though he's been consistently proving us wrong throughout the entirety of his career. We all have to agree that this isn't sustainable, right? So bringing in Luka Doncic means LeBron James will play off the ball a little bit more, but I'm very interested in seeing what Luka Doncic is going to do when the ball isn't in his hands, or how everyone's role in the Lakers offense is going to change. There wasn't a game this season that was more hyped up than this one was, even though it was against a 12-win team versus the Utah Jazz. That's how crazy it is that Luka Doncic is a Los Angeles Laker teaming up with LeBron James on the most famous team in the NBA. Expectations for this game weren't anything special from a true competitive standpoint, with the Jazz being one of the worst teams in basketball. But that's not why people tuned in. The entire world tuned in to see the aftermath of arguably the worst decision in the history of the sport. Even though this trade was made about 9 days ago, for the Mavericks it just keeps getting worse. We have a completely separate video on Anthony Davis's injury. We uploaded it earlier today. If you guys want to check that out, I'll leave it in the end screen. But the Lakers organization and Crypto.com Arena went all out for this one, putting a Luka Doncic jersey shirt on every seat in the arena. Even LeBron James was wearing one during warm-ups. Now, leading up to the game, there was this one report I heard that I personally thought was BS from Dave McMenamin, and I thought it was very interesting how he would report this. According to Dave McMenamin via NBA Central, LeBron's camp took notice of how quickly the Lakers traded picks to appease Luka Doncic, while LeBron James had wanted the same for years per Mac-10. What is clear is that Doncic will have a say, and it wasn't lost on James's camp that Rob Pelinka prioritized Luka Doncic's involvement upon his arrival and immediately engaged in the Mark Williams trade that he'd asked for, when LeBron James had for years wanted the team to trade its picks to improve its roster. Personally, I think this is kind of low from Dave McMenamin. One, because the narrative around the Los Angeles Lakers' future first-round picks is completely different than what it used to be. I mean, before the Luka Doncic trade, everyone assumed the Los Angeles Lakers were going to be in a full-scale rebuild in the 2030 and 2031 NBA season. But now that you have Luka Doncic it's not crazy to assume that the Lakers will consistently be in the playoff race. But that aside, you're talking about a 40-year-old LeBron James asking his team to mortgage their future versus a 25-year-old Luka Doncic asking the team that he is hopefully going to be on 5 years from now to mortgage their future for a center that allows him to play his brand of basketball better. I just felt like I needed to address that. It was kind of a low blow coming from Malika Andrews' husband, but to give you an idea of how crazy this game was, the get-in price for the game tripled after it was announced that it would be Luka Doncic's debut in purple and yellow. The entire city of Los Angeles was ready for Luka to show up. Even the Hollywood sign was showing Luka love. Los Angeles has definitely seen their fair share of star talent over the years. Now they have arguably the best duo in the entire NBA. We were never going to see a ton of the two together off the jump though, since head coach JJ Redick announced pre-game that Luka would be on a minutes restriction due to his calf injury. So if you took the under from my picks on Instagram, then you probably cracked a smile once you found that out. In due time, we will truly see how dominant this duo could be. I mean, LeBron James and JJ Redick themselves have talked about how dominant Luka Doncic is on their podcast, so I'm sure they'll know how to utilize him properly.
What's interesting about Luka, I think, he's one of a handful of guys in this era that can make any pass against a double team.
Any.
James is one of them.
Yep.
You are for sure. Luka's one of them.
We've heard a lot about who LeBron's best teammate throughout his career has been, whether it's Dwayne Wade, Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, or Bronny James, but I think Luka Doncic has real potential to make his way to the top of that list. If you're basing it purely on talent, he probably already is, but obviously that's not how that works. But if this team can win a championship, especially if it's this year, I think Luka will be known as the best player that LeBron has ever played with. The only thing we know right now though is how they looked in their first game together. The first two possessions of the game for LA showed us exactly what we were going to see from these two. LeBron started the game off with a lob to Jackson Hayes, followed by a Luka Doncic lob to Jackson Hayes off of a Euro step on the very next play. This duo is going to be so much fun to watch. I mean, early on it seemed like the two would basically be taking turns with the ball in the half court, and it paid off when Luka Doncic made his first three as a Laker, erupting Crypto Arena. Just listen.
Tries the three and hits it. The first of many to come for Luka Doncic.
Now this is what was really interesting to me. The two would come off of the court together midway through the first quarter, leaving Austin Reeves to run the second unit while the two superstars rest. The reason why this surprises me is Luka Doncic and LeBron James are very unique talents. I mean, since LeBron James has entered the NBA, there hasn't been a physically imposing, dominant forward that excelled at running the spread pick and roll the way he does and has the playmaking ability and athletic ability that LeBron James does. And while Luka doesn't have that athletic ability, he certainly does have that playmaking ability. I'd imagine at least one of them are on the court for the majority of the game, but I'm assuming that maybe JJ Redick is going to switch this up once Luka's minutes restriction is up. But honestly, Austin Reeves held it down, even hitting this nasty step back three. Austin Reeves playing consistent basketball is honestly the X factor in this scenario. If he's off, Luka and LeBron have to carry, but giving them a break and still being able to compete is the key to winning a championship. LeBron would be the first back into the game, giving Austin Reeves some rest this time, even hitting a big three, which Luka Doncic absolutely loved. It seems like JJ Redick has found a rotation where he's going to have a star ball handler on the court at all times. The brand new Lakers scored 37 points on 63.6% shooting in the first quarter, putting on a show and putting the rest of the league on notice. Luka Doncic would end up replacing LeBron James in the second quarter, making an immediate impact with this dime to Rui Hachimura in the corner. JJ is staggering his stars after having them start together, and honestly, this might benefit Austin Reeves more than anybody, giving him an easier defensive matchup when he's on the court with one of the two. This star duo was looking completely unfair in the first half. Just give one of them the ball and get out of the way. I mean, Dirk Nowitzki was in attendance for this game over a Mavericks home game, which says a lot. And LeBron James and Luka Doncic both hit Dirk-like fades at different times in the second quarter. Now, I know people are going to accuse me of glazing Luka Doncic as the Los Angeles Lakers beat down on one of the worst teams in the NBA. Sorry, Jazz fans, your future looks incredible, by the way. But honestly, they were having so much fun out there, and they were making it look easy, including this full court laser from Luka Doncic to LeBron James on the fast break. Luka and LeBron combined for 24 of LA's 72 first half points, and somehow neither of them was the leading scorer. And as a Laker fan, I certainly could get used to this. The second half started the exact same way the first half did, with LeBron and Luka both finding Jackson Hayes for a lob. The Mark Williams trade fell through, and I know the talk is that the Lakers still desperately need a center, but Jackson Hayes looks like a great fit next to these two as a consistent lob threat. Now, I will admit, I am very concerned about the Los Angeles Lakers front court. I mean, it's a huge problem, and it wasn't very evident in this game versus the Utah Jazz because they don't really have a center or a power forward that is imposing in the interior. I mean, Lauri Markkanen is an incredible player, but what happens when the Los Angeles Lakers get matched up against Nikola Jokic in the playoffs? Or what if they have to face off against Alperen Şengün and the Houston Rockets? I know the buyout market has some intriguing names, and I know Jackson Hayes looked really good in this particular game, but as fun as this was to watch, just bear in mind, this is the Utah Jazz. They're tanking for Cooper Flag. This is one of the lesser teams in the Western Conference, and although I do think the duo of LeBron and Luka could work, we need to figure out a way to get them some front court help. Los Angeles finished the third quarter up by 25 points, and with Luka's minutes restriction, we didn't see any more of him in this game, but what we did see from him was a glimpse of something truly special. Luka only had 14, 5, and 4 on fairly below average efficiency, but the potential of a healthy Luka-LeBron duo is absolutely terrifying. Once these two get some games in together and Luka doesn't have a restriction on his minutes, I don't see how anyone can stop this team offensively. You have an elite scorer and facilitator touching the ball 95% of the time, even when Austin Reeves is running the ship, and their chemistry together will only grow. The only concern I have with this lineup is how they'll match up with an elite offensive team, considering Luka's defensive capabilities. But if they're scoring 125 points per game, it won't matter. I'll always say this unless Anthony Davis somehow comes back and leads the Dallas Mavericks to a championship this year. The Dallas Mavericks made a horrific mistake, and when you take a look at what happened to AD in his first game, you'd agree with me on that. If you don't know what happened to Anthony Davis during his first game, it was absolutely magnificent, and then he got injured. We have a whole video breaking down Anthony Davis's first game as a Maverick as well. I'll leave it in the end screen. We uploaded it earlier today. I'll meet you guys over there, and aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.